Da 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 da. Hello, Zai. I are smart, and today we're gonna talk about lightsabers because guess what? Everything you know about lightsabers is wrong. All right. So you might be thinking, what lightsabers? Right? They're light, right? No, lightsabers are not light, and I will prove it to you. Okay. So what are you talking about, Smart? Let me just give you the short version here, and then I'll explain later. So basically, the blade, light does not have mass. Okay, this is a property of science and stuff because I'm smart. I know these things. So light does not have mass, but the blade of a lightsaber does have mass because of reasons I'll prove to you. So therefore, the blade of a lightsaber is not just light. It is something else that gives off light. What is it? I will tell you in this video. So yeah, lightsaber, really cool. Anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so I know some of you are going to be like, oh, well, a lightsaber blade doesn't have mass. That's why it can move, blah, 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 and you're going to do all these sort of things. No, you're wrong. I'm going to prove you wrong, okay? I have Wikipedia on my side. I looked up sources from Wikipedia, all right? Now, some of them did contradict themselves, but that's just Wikipedia for you. But anyway, I'm going to prove to you. So basically, what do I mean? So basically, when you swing a lightsaber blade, it's kind of similar to the way that you swing a sword. When the characters swing lightsaber blades in the movie, you know, there's mass. Obviously, this is a toy lightsaber. This is actual physical. It's not a real lightsaber blade. Just so you know, this isn't a real lightsaber. This is a toy one, but still, it's got a plastic blade here. Okay, so when I hit it, it's an actual thing. So anyway, this has mass. This is a piece of plastic. It has mass. It's just being lit up by the lightsaber blade. But when I swing it, I have to account for the fact that this blade has mass. If I didn't, it would be like this. So without the blade, the lightsaber, I could just do this. Right? Oh, sorry. That should be a seizure warning. Okay, I would do this. Like, you could literally do this. I can't do this if the blade's there, because the blade has mass. So if a lightsaber works, some people are like, oh, well, a lightsaber blade, it doesn't have mass, you know? It would just be here, but, right, if I would be able to do this. I'd be able to do, crazy stuff. You can't do this, right? You can't move it that quickly, because it has mass that you have to account for. So therefore, the blade of a lightsaber has to have mass, because in the movie, the characters can't do this. They're unable to do that with their lightsaber blade. They are unable to move it that fast. And the movement is entirely different. So, the lightsaber blades in the movies have mass, and they have to, because that just makes sense. It's science, okay? And this makes sense because lightsabers are obviously inspired by real swords, and real swords have a physical blade. And when you swing a blade of a real sword, you have to account for the weight in your swings, and the way you can do things with it, you have to account for the fact that there's a blade there. Same with a lightsaber, right? They are inspired by real swords, even the props. In the original trilogy, they used props. There were, I believe, plastic rods that they used, and then they just, rotoscoped the effect onto it. In the prequels, they had very much thin aluminum rods, but still, there was an actual rod there they actually used for the blade. So there's an actual physical blade there. They moved a lot faster in the prequels just because of a lot of different reasons, but still, it was an actual physical blade there. So all the swings in the prequels might be thinking like, oh, there was no blade there, but no, there was a blade there. They were accounting for it when the characters swung in the movie. And in the sequels, they use a newer blade. They actually use blades like this now. And same with the Kenobi show. They use blades like this now because they light up the characters. See how my helmet is lit up? They do that now. It looks cool. So, yes, in the movies, they actually use lightsaber blades with real blades because it looks more natural. If they were just swinging the hilt around, it wouldn't look very good. They use this because it looks more like a real sword, which is what a lightsaber is supposed to be, like a real sword. So, again, another reason why a lightsaber blade is not just light. Because if it was just light, it wouldn't come to an end like this. It would just go on forever. Light doesn't just stop. That's not how light works. Light wouldn't just go to a certain point and stop. Also, light, because of the way it works, if it's going this way, you're not going to be able to see this. Let me demonstrate. This means that a lightsaber blade is not pure light. It is an object that's giving off light. So you're probably asking, Ira Smart, okay, what is this object? It's plasma. Yes, plasma. Now, you may remember when you were in science class, and the teacher was like, okay, kids, there are 3 states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas. And there was that one really annoying kid that nobody liked. He was like, okay, teacher, but what about plasma? And he's stupid, and he's still annoying, and you still shouldn't talk to him. But anyway, plasma is a thing. It is technically a state of matter. We just don't usually talk about it, because it's basically just gas that's energized. It is gas. It's particles that are just floating around loosely, but they're energized. A good example of this would be lightning, that's what everyone says. But there are other examples, mainly like the sun. The sun is plasma because it's a big ball of energy, but it's all gas. It's all hydrogen gas. and it's all energized, and that's what it gives off energy. So, a lightsaber blade is kind of like the sun. Think about it like that. So now the important thing to remember is that plasma and gas both have mass. They don't have a defined shape, so they would kind of just float around, but I'll get to that later. But it has mass, whereas light does not have mass. So, that's the important thing. It would have mass. If the blade of lightsaber was plasma, it would have mass. Not very much, but I'll get to that later. If you need evidence from actual Star Wars rather than just me listening off some, real-life science, there are a couple scenes, specifically about the Darksabers when they talk about this, but both Sabine and Mando comment on the blade having a lot of weight to it and being surprised. Because, you probably think, like, oh, it's going to be super light, but then they're surprised when it has actual mass.
It's heavier than I thought.
Energy constantly flows through the crystal. You're not fighting with a simple blade as much as you are directing a current of power.
It gets heavier with each move.
That is because you are fighting against the blade.
The blade has weight and you can feel it, which is surprising because you wouldn't think it would, but it does. So there you go, literally an example from the movies, well actually not the movies, they're from the series, but still, from Star Wars, of characters saying the blade of a lightsaber has light. Now it's the Darksaber, which might be different, but it's probably the same, okay? Another thing I like to point out is that blaster bolts are not lasers. People like to say, oh, the laser guns from Star Wars. They're not lasers. They are blaster bolts. Because you may notice, when we see a blaster bolt in Star Wars, it's like this little red or like whatever color of like bolt that's just like flying through the air. But we can see it flying through the air. And that's the important thing, because again, light travels at the speed of light. It's here, and it's instantly there. It travels faster than like anything else, okay? Basically, light is fast, alright? That's all you gotta know. So if a blaster shot light, it would be going at the speed of light. But you can clearly see, based off Star Wars, it doesn't do that. Like they don't do that, okay? So therefore, a blaster bolt is actually quite similar to a blaster blade in that it must be a beam of plasma. It must be highly charged gas. Though believe me, look up what blaster bolts are. I've seen multiple sources say that it's actually made of gas. That is the ammo. And yes, there's actually a stormtrooper in A New Hope that says, load your weapons, men. So blasters do take ammo, and the ammunition is gas. So, again, that gives credit to the fact. The blasters are shooting gas that's energized. What is that? Plasma. So then that begs the question. Obviously a blaster bolt is going to kind of keep its shape as a blaster bolt, because it's just going really fast altogether. But why does a lightsaber blade keep its shape? Why is it that when I swing it around, all the gas doesn't just go everywhere? Now this is a bit more of a theory on my part. I couldn't find any concrete evidence of this, but my personal theory is that there must be shields. There must be shields around the blade that keeps the lightsaber in its shape. And this makes a lot of sense because of what we know about shields in Star Wars. Now, energy shields are kind of a made-up science. I don't think there's any real-life science that can back these up. But going off of what I know about Star Wars, shields, we see them on droidicas, we see a couple personal shields in the movies. Basically what they, also on starships, because we know like ships like the Millennium Falcon have shields. We just don't see them because they never really did an effect to show the shields, but they do have shields. So that is a thing. So what I'm thinking is that when the actual blade unsheaths of a lightsaber, here I'll show you. So when the blade unsheaths for a lightsaber, the shield must also go around it. And you can't really see the shield, but that's what's keeping it in its shape. Alright? Now, shields are pretty interesting, right? We know they deflect blaster bolts, which is a thing that we can see lightsabers doing in the movies. They deflect blaster bolts. And also, things can pass through them. So, certain things will be stopped by a shield, other things won't. So, if a shield, cuts through an object or somebody else, then they'll go through the shield, they'll touch the superheated plasma, and bam, now your limb is gone. However, if they connect with another lightsaber, I don't have another lightsaber, but for demonstrations, let's say my arm here's another lightsaber. Yeah, see like this, right? When they're in a lightsaber clash, right? They get up against this, and they clash. That's because another shield, well, it'd be another lightsaber, not my arm in this example, but another shield is hitting another shield, so they connect like this. If it was just plasma, the lightsaber blades would pass through each other, but because they're shields, it's what stops it. See? It makes sense, doesn't it? Also, I don't really know if shields weigh anything, but I imagine maybe they would have some weight to them, and that would, again, give more mass to the blade and make more sense. Also, I'm pretty sure that air resistance would also be a factor to consider, because obviously with a real blade, you're going to have a solid object that's going to be affected by air resistance. The molecules in the air are going to slow the blade down when you swing it. It's not just going to cut through the air as easily. So imagine with a lightsaber be the same. I think the actual plasma combined with the shielding would probably be affected by air resistance, but again, I don't know for certain. I'm just kind of guessing here and saying it probably would be, but again, that would just contribute to making the lightsaber act more like a real sword. rather than just, you know, some fancy light thing. I don't know. Also, if you want some evidence of, you know, lightsabers being affected by air resistance, here's this scene from Rebels. It's dumb, but that's the only way that the lightsabers could be spinning and making them go up is if it's producing some kind of lift using air resistance. So, yeah, thanks for this one, Dave Filoni, by the way. Really, why is this? Why are the Inquisitors flying? How, and why? So hopefully now you understand a bit more about lightsabers, and what they are, and why they are not light, and why they have mass. So now you can tell your friends, hey, do you know that lightsabers are not light? Yeah. Also, check out this lightsaber. It's very sweet. I got it from Saber Forge, I believe, and it's really cool. They allow me to make it myself. Not really myself, but I was able to choose, like, all right, I want this part, and then I want this part, and then I want this part and this end cap, and it was really cool. It was cheaper. There are a lot of, like, really fancy, expensive lightsabers. Like, some of them get up to, like, $500. This one was $200. It's really nice. It's a very nice lightsaber. I know there are, like, NeoPixel ones where they got LEDs all the way up the blade. This is one where it's just a hollow blade. The light just comes out of here. So it's not the best lightsaber in the world, but I really like it. It's my first one, so I hope you enjoyed. And I hope you enjoyed this video telling you about lightsabers. Let me know if you want to see more stuff, like, you know, the science of Star Wars. There's a lot of interesting things. Most of the science of Star Wars is just made up, right? But some of it has some, you know, kind of science to it. Like, it's kind of interesting stuff. So let me know if you want to see more stuff like that in the future. Anyway, I'm gonna go play with my lightsaber more. This is so fun. I'm literally just a kid going... It's so fun. I love this so much. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, that's the video. So, bye. Now you might be asking, IR Smart, oh, I thought only Jedi had lightsabers. How did you get one? Now perhaps I killed a Jedi and took it from him.
I don't think so. No one can kill a Jedi.